From the 22 News Plus studio, this is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of InFocus. I'm your host, Patrick Berry. I am very honored today to be joined across the desk by the distinguished U.S. Congressman from the 2nd District of Massachusetts, Jim McGovern. Mr. McGovern, thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
Happy to be with you.
You are a busy man.
Well, we're all busy.
I understand that. I understand that. This is the first time you and I have met, and I will ask you the same question I asked Richie Neal when he was in that spot, Attorney Gallooni when he was in that, every elected official, even down to our local mayors. Why? Why run for office, especially in this day and age where there's so much animosity among politicians and then among the public? Why do this job?
Because I think I can make a difference, and I think it's worth it. I've been in Congress for a while now, and I've passed some important legislation. I brought essential federal funds back to my district and seen a lot of projects come to being, and I still think I can make a difference. And now, in particular, I feel a greater sense of purpose because I think our country is headed in the wrong direction. I think that never in our history have we been closer to one-man rule. I worry about our democracy. I'm horrified by what ICE is doing. I worry about the excesses of this presidency and, quite frankly, the impotence of Congress. So, I mean, I'm running for re-election because I'm ready. I still have some fight in me, and I think this is a fight worth having.
Speaking of that fight in you, there are a few key things that you've kind of made your platform. It's healthy eating, it's protecting human rights, and promoting peace. Those seem common among everyone. So how are you making those three items stand above and beyond what everyone else is saying?
Well, they're not so common when you get right down to it. I mean, for example, I've spent a lot of time working to try to combat hunger and food insecurity in this country. We live in the richest country in the history of the world, and we have 48 million Americans, 48 million who are hungry or food insecure. We all should be ashamed of that. And at the same time, I have Republican colleagues and led by the White House cutting SNAP benefits by $200 billion. It's going to make hunger even worse. I think issues like hunger are political conditions. I mean, we have the money. I mean, we have money to bail out Argentina at $30 billion. We have money to buy Greenland, according to the president. We have money to pay for tax cuts for multimillionaires and billionaires, but we don't have the money to make sure people have access to good, nutritious food. That's just ridiculous. Hunger is a political condition. And I care about human rights, not only halfway around the world, but halfway down the block. I think every person on this planet ought to be treated with dignity. We all should be able to speak our minds without fear of retribution or being jailed or imprisoned or killed. I think we ought to be able to be who we are. And so, those are things that I care deeply about. And I think we can make progress on it, but there's not unanimity on this. I mean, and that's what's frustrating right now.
So how do you reach across the aisle? How do you get your counterparts on the Republican ticket to understand that these are basic human needs, and why aren't they voting the way you need them to vote?
I try to engage them as much as I can. I try to appeal to the better angels of their nature, to use Lincoln's phrase. And I tell stories. I mean, I was with Richie Neal. Today we were at Lorraine's Kitchen in Chicopee, and the mayor was there, and our state legislative delegation was there, and we listened to some of the personal stories of people who are struggling to put food on the table, and we heard firsthand from the people who work at Lorraine's that the need is growing in this area, and so I can go back to Washington and tell.
But that's not unique to Western Mass.
No, it isn't
in
unique to Western
Alabama.
Mass.
It's in Oregon.
But here's the deal: not all my colleagues go out and listen to those people in their districts that are struggling. They can get elected by, ignoring that segment of their constituency, which I think is not only wrong, I think it's immoral. I think government really is there not to help millionaires and billionaires get more tax cuts or to enrich the people who are already wealthy. I think government needs to be there to make sure that people who are struggling and live a decent life. And the majority of people who are able-bodied who are on SNAP, they work. They're working full time, and they still need SNAP as a supplemental benefit to be able to put food on their table. I mean, I'd like to think we can get to a point in this country where if you're working full time, you ought to earn a decent living, and we're not there yet. So there are inequities, injustices that still exist, even on healthcare. People have health insurance. We couldn't get Congress to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credit, so people are going to see their premiums double, triple, and quadruple. There are a lot of people who are deciding to go without health insurance because it's so expensive. And even if you have health insurance and you can afford to pay for it, it's still expensive, to get medical care in this country. So we need some fundamental, dramatic change in a whole range of areas, aimed at how do we improve the quality of life for every citizen in this country.
That's a perfect way to come to our first commercial break. Stay with us. We have plenty more with Congressman McGovern when we come back.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of In Focus. We're here in the 22 News Plus studio. Sitting across the desk from me is U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern. Thank you again, Congressman, for joining me. I appreciate your time. You have a busy role with our federal government, so finding time to come sit with me, I understand, is delicate. So thank you so very much. We've covered a lot of ground so far. One of the things you had talked about was getting people across the aisle to understand the needs within their individual communities. You're fully aware of what's happening here in your district, from Central Mass to Western Mass. How do you get those other congressmen and women to get back to their communities to understand what's happening there? I mean, do you go to those communities to try and educate their constituents?
Well, sometimes I go to their communities. I've done town halls, not only in my district, but I've done them in other districts, including Republican districts. And I listen to, the constituencies there, and we have conversations, and I tell them how they need to knock on the door of their member of Congress and persuade him or her, to do more in certain areas. I mean, Congress can get stuff done, and government can do some good stuff. But right now, I have a feeling that the deck is stacked against regular people. I mean, we have an affordability crisis in this country. Everything's expensive. I mean, food prices have gone up. Utility costs are through the roof. I mean, those are the issues we should be addressing. Healthcare costs are going up. And yet we have a Congress and a White House that is prioritizing tax cuts for multimillionaires and billionaires over, the issues of affordability. We have money to bail out Argentina and to invade Venezuela and to buy Greenland or whatever. But we don't have the funds to help make life a little easier for regular people. That's all screwed up in my mind.
So going back year and a half ago, summer of 2024, leading up to the fall of 2024 elections, what we're seeing now is exactly what President Trump promised his voters. So it shouldn't be that shocking to us that he's following through on his promises. Just like you as a politician, you promise your constituents X, and you follow through on it. He's doing the same.
He promised people that, prices would go lower, and he broke that promise. I mean, he promised people that our communities would be safer. He broke that promise. And, you see what's going on, with ICE. He pardoned all the violent insurrectionists who attacked the Capitol on January 6th. I mean, many of those people went on to commit murder, rape women, and molest, young kids. I mean, so he's made a lot of promises that he didn't keep. And in terms of immigration, he promised he would, focus in on, strengthening our border and only going after, the real bad criminals. That's not what he's doing. In fact, he's going after American citizens now, and people are shocked. Even people who supported him are shocked. So I don't trust him. I wouldn't trust him or the people in his cabinet to tell me the correct time, never mind to deliver on a promise. They have betrayed America. And again, a lot of people are realizing that now, but we're stuck with him for 3 more years. And
And we have to. I mean,
Yeah.
you, not we,
Yeah.
but you've got to find a common ground with your counterparts.
We do, but I fear that we're playing, but many of us on the Democratic side are playing by the old rules. There's no more rules.
Right.
He's threw out the rule book. I mean, he's ignoring Congress, and we have a Republican Congress that won't insist on him respecting our constitutional authority. So we're getting rolled over.
So do you think it's an element of your Republican counterparts that just are not standing up to the president and holding him to task? Yeah. And are they more fearful of their own political futures?
Yeah, they're afraid of him. They're afraid they'll lose their primaries if they cross him in any way. And, I remind them all the time, it's only a matter of time before he turns on them. I mean, who would have predicted a year ago that he would have turned on Marjorie Taylor Greene? And yet he did. I mean, he wants to get rid of Jerome Powell as chairman of the Fed. He appointed Jerome Powell. I mean, he trash talks Mike Pence. I mean, this is a guy, if you're not, praising him, every minute of the day, he turns on you. So they're afraid of him. And I wish they would grow a spine and push back, because he's doing things that, quite frankly, are illegal. Congress has the power of the purse. When we appropriate money, he's supposed to spend it. If he doesn't want to spend it, he comes back to Congress and asks us to repeal those funds. He's freezing funds unilaterally. He constitutionally doesn't have that authority. And we're going through the courts, and that takes forever. But quite frankly, the Speaker of the House, ought to be strong enough to say, hey, you can't do that. You can't, same with going to war. Constitution says Congress has to vote to authorize the use of military force. He bypassed us on Venezuela.
We've been bypassed since World War II.
Well, no,
Korea, Vietnam.
George W. Bush, when he went to Iraq, actually came to Congress. The War Powers Act came into being after Vietnam, and so the reality here is that he needs to respect the authority of Congress, and if he doesn't, then Congress, I don't care who's president, needs to push back.
So let's switch gears a little bit more to your priorities of healthy eating. Joe Kennedy has used MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. That's your stumping ground. You want people to be more healthy. What's your relationship with Kennedy in making sure Americans are healthier? We're eating better. We've got the right vaccines to keep us healthy. How is your relationship with him, if you have one?
Yeah, well, we've interacted briefly over the years, but quite frankly, I agree with the catchphrase "Make America Healthy," but you don't make America healthy by introducing conspiracy theories on vaccinations. I mean, we're now learning about this outbreak of measles, not all over the country, but especially in South Carolina right now, and it's directly tied to kids not getting vaccinated. You don't make America healthy again when you cut SNAP benefits, because in order to get healthy food, you have to be able to afford it. And people can't afford healthy food. So you're not going to make America healthy again by not supporting our farmers. The tariffs that Trump has implemented has screwed over our farmers royally. We have more bankruptcies in the last year than any time I can remember. So and if you want to make America healthy again, you ought to be talking about how we link, our farms and our nutrition programs with healthcare. I mean, we have some good examples here in Massachusetts, where Mass General Hospital has, partnered with the Food Bank of Greater Boston, and they have a food pantry that is a plant-based food pantry at a health clinic. And where people can get good, nutritious food. And they also have cooking classes there so that people can learn how to prepare that food. I mean, that's the kind of out-of-the-box thinking that I think makes America healthy again. That's not what RFK Jr. is doing. I mean, they're not. This is all. It's a throwaway slogan. It's like "Make America Great Again." I mean, what does it mean? Donald Trump said he wants to make America first. Well, everybody else is first, but regular Americans seem to be last.
Exactly. We are coming up on our second break. I want to correct. Thank you. Corrected me. I said Joe Kennedy.
Oh, I didn't want to correct you.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. No, absolutely.
Joe Kennedy's good. We like Joe Kennedy. Yeah.
We're on our second commercial break. Stay with us.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this edition of In Focus. I'm your host, Patrick Berry. Today, I'm very honored to be seated across the desk from the United States Congressman for the 2nd District of Massachusetts, Jim McGovern. Mr. McGovern, thank you again for joining me. Appreciate your time. Covered a lot of ground in a very short period of time, so thank you very much for that. What do you foresee the future of the Democratic Party? I'm an unenrolled voter, so I'm not neither Republican, Independent, nor Democrat, because I'm tired of party politics. As an outsider looking in, I look at the Democratic Party as having a marketing problem, and the Republican Party is great at it. Where do you see the Democratic Party come this fall's midterm elections? 4 years from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now? Where do you see your party?
I hope we're in charge of Congress, in November. But look, we have a marketing problem, but we have a problem that's even deeper, and that is, I think people, want to be convinced that we actually, will improve their lives if we take charge. They want us to be bold. They want us not to simply, rearrange the deck chairs. They want us to actually talk about real change and substantive change that will make a difference. We've had this debate over extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits to help people in the ACA afford their health insurance. That's important. But people want more than that because healthcare is too damn expensive, even with the subsidies, right? I mean, they want us to end hunger in this country. They want us to make sure that everybody, has access to a decent job that pays a livable wage. I mean, they just don't want us to, make little tiny changes. They want big change. This is a moment, in my opinion, where people looking to the Democrats to be like New Deal Democrats or Great Society Democrats. They don't want us to manage, what is not working. And so I think we got to grow a spine and we got to stand for something.
And do you feel part of that is making sure that we have a middle class? I feel that the upper class is getting bigger and bigger, and the lower class is getting bigger and bigger, and the middle class is shrinking. I believe that in my lifetime, the middle class will be almost non-existent.
I agree. We need a middle class in this country, and I tell people when I'm talking at town halls, this is no longer about Democrats versus Republicans or liberal versus conservatives. This is about the well-off and the elites versus everybody else. My son, who I think is great and got a good college education, he's working a full-time job, doing good stuff. And he asked me a couple of weeks ago, he said, "Dad, do you ever think I'll be able to afford to buy a house?" I mean,
my two daughters say the same thing in their late 20s.
Right. And he's working. I mean, a full-time job, decent salary, but everything is so expensive. Rent is expensive. Groceries are expensive, health insurance, everything is expensive. So, look, we need to go back to the basics. We need to create a middle class and restore the dream of home ownership. We need to make sure that people have access to good, affordable health care. Look, I'm for a Medicare for all approach. That's where I'm coming from. I just think healthcare is about profits now and not about patients. So we need to change that. But there's a lot that we need to do.
Countries around the world all look to the U.S. as leaders in a number of things, except healthcare.
I mean, we.
You don't see another country on the planet Earth going, "We need to copy that plan."
Yeah, we pay more in healthcare than any place else in the world, that we get worse results. I mean, if you need brain surgery, or a very complicated open heart surgery, this is the place to get it. But everything else, including treatments to prevent you from needing open heart surgery, forget about it. We're lousy at that.
So it's a profit-driven industry,
right.
and the lobbyist for the insurance industry is well known to be at Capitol Hill. So how do you get that out of Capitol Hill?
Well, one of the things we need to do, I believe, is we need to have campaign finance reform. Something I've been advocating since I first came to Congress. When the last time Democrats took control of Congress, I was about to become chairman of the Rules Committee, and I said, let's make a pledge that we won't take any corporate PAC money. I said, I'm going to make that pledge.
Went over like a lead balloon.
I'm going to make that pledge because I'm about to become a chairman of a powerful committee. Maybe others will follow. Like almost nobody followed. But the bottom line is, campaigns cost too damn much money. There ought to be limitations on how much you spend and how much you can raise. And members of Congress ought to spend more time listening to their constituents rather than raising money. But I think money in politics is the kind of the is evil. It is why we end up with tax cuts for multimillionaires and billionaires, and middle class people get screwed. That's why in the healthcare industry, the pharmaceutical companies get all kinds of benefits, and we're paying through the nose for it.
So as we're having this conversation, what do you think about term limits? I mean, the president has term limits.
Yeah, I believe that people ought to be able to vote for whoever they want as long as they want. I mean, I think we've had some great leaders. Ted Kennedy, I think of, who was there multiple terms. I'm glad he was. I think Massachusetts and the country is better off. But I don't think it's about longevity. I think it's about influence of money, corporate interests, special interests. I think we need to get that out of our politics. I mean, and unfortunately, it's not a priority. Even on the campaign trail, a lot of people don't talk about money in politics. But I'm going to tell you, it's everything. You're running for re-election. You got a tough re-election. And some special interest comes to you and say, "Hey, I'll do a fundraiser for you. I'll raise $100,000 or whatever."
Right.
Then
It's hard to say no to that.
Then you get elected, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with issues related to that special interest, and you're like, "Oh, God, I mean, what do I do?" You shouldn't have to even think like that. The people should always come first, and that they don't, I think, is because of a really broken down, corrupt campaign finance system.
What a great way to end. Congressman McGovern, I can't thank you enough for joining me today. A fantastic conversation and wonderful meeting you.
And nice to meet you.
Thank you.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Talk about